If you ever get a reading from me, you might hear me say you're about to go through a shift. What does a shift look like, though? We're going to talk about that in a minute. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Spirit Made Me Do It. Thank you all so much to all the new subscribers. I'm so happy to have you along. Today, we're going to talk about kind of what's going on a little with my journey to see if it suits up with anything that you might be going through. We're going to talk about what a shift looks like. First of all, what does that mean, shift? Okay, when I say somebody's going through a shift, it's a change from the direction that you're on right now to a different direction. And sometimes this can be very uncomfortable. But if you kind of look at it as it's happening, it might be easier for you to go through. And let me explain what that looks like. Whenever I'm about to go through a shift or a level up, something always falls away from me. Something that I'm attached to will disappear out of my life. Before I started this YouTube channel, I lost a couple of people that I was involved with their lives. I lost a lot of people who I was spending a lot of time with, helping them in situations, and it was taking time from anything else that I might be doing. Not that I'm complaining, I'm not. I love the time that I spent with those people, and unfortunately, they passed. They passed very close together within a couple of months of each other. And I knew then that I was going to have to start concentrating on what I was doing with my life. I knew at that point that that was going to be happening. So that was kind of when I really started to get into tarot reading professionally. Up until that point, I was doing charity events. I was reading for my friends and my family. Now, here's an example of a shift for me. I've always heard it said, and I don't know what truth there is to this, because I bought my first tarot deck when I was 12 or so. I was very young when I bought my first tarot deck. I dabbled with it and it left, and then it came back into my life again. I stopped doing that. I started concentrating on other things because, of course, I was a kid. I was in school. There was a lot going on. But I was always told that when the universe thinks that you're ready to read, that a tarot deck is gifted to you. So I had started reading a little more for my friends and a little more for my family and doing more events, charity events. And I was thinking about going professional, but I didn't feel comfortable yet. I was looking for a sign. Well, one day I went over to my bestie's house. Shout out to Roberta, my girl. And she asked me if I had my cards to do readings, and I had left them at home. I had just kind of been fed up at that point. I just left my cards at home. And she said, well, I have a deck, but I don't have any instructions with it or anything. And I was like, well, that's fine. Let's just see what we have. I gave her the best reading I had ever given anybody up to that point. And she looked at me and she said, Marcy, you need to keep this deck. So there was the universe gifting the deck to me. So that was a year and a half ago or so. And then I started to go for my license and all of that. And I knew I was coming for a shift. When I first went for my license, and it's a fortune teller's license, in the state of Massachusetts, you have to have a fortune teller's license in order to read cards. So it's a state law, but you have to go through your town. So I went through the town, and they didn't even have an application for that. So no one knew what to do. There were all sorts of things that I had to go through, all sorts of hoops I had to jump through to get this license. But I knew this is the universe's way of telling me when I get this license, I am ready. I've earned my seat at the table. So I got my license, and that's what happened. My readings really started to improve. I started to read on a professional level, and things have been going great. I have been hearing from other readers that I was going to go through another shift, that I was going to go through a big shift. Well, just before Christmas this year, my engagement ring broke. I lost the diamond out of the ring. And it was actually during a charity event that I discovered that I had lost the diamond. And I just kind of felt, well, this is something new. At first I thought, maybe it's just a coincidence, might not be a shift. But then when I brought my ring to the jewelers, they told me that my ring from 1940 could not be fixed without replacing the crown itself on the ring. So it would be a completely different ring. It just didn't feel the same to me. And so my husband and I picked out a new ring. After I ordered it, I kept looking at this ring, and it just had this very magical feel to it. It's like it's a Celtic ring. And I just knew that this was universe telling me that something bigger was coming up. Well, we've been waiting for the ring to come in, and it should be in today, hopefully, fingers crossed. But a couple of weekends ago, my sister, Dory, shout out to my sister Dora, she took me to a salt cave, which is a room that is completely covered with the sea salt lamps. And it was an incredible experience. I highly recommend going to that. But then we went to a store called The Sanctuary. And we went inside, and there was a used deck of cards. And I was immediately drawn to these tarot cards. They were absolutely beautiful. Gilded Tarot Royale is the name of the deck. And it just looked like my ring belonged on one of these cards. I was really drawn to this card. Well, when you buy a used deck, it's still kind of like it's been gifted to you. It was somebody else's and they're giving it to you. I picked up that deck. No sooner was I holding that deck when my bestie, Roberta, who gave me my first deck, called me. Now, this doesn't seem like a big deal, but Roberta and I are both very busy people, and we only talk to each other maybe every other week, maybe. And here she is at the exact time that I have this deck in my hand that she called me, and I was just flabbergasted. Needless to say, I grabbed that deck. Well, it was shortly after that John Davis of the channel John of New got in touch with me and asked me if I would like to do an interview, if I would like to interview him on my show so that he could help me, boost up my subscribers, which was incredibly gracious of him. I'm just so overwhelmed with his generosity. And then he asked me to go on his show live and read him. So I highly suggest you go check that out, because that was a really fun time. Really great people. It was a good reading. And so that brought along a lot of the new subscribers that I am so happy to have. But you can see the different things that are happening that are showing me that I'm going through a shift. Now, some of them are uncomfortable, like losing the diamond from my ring. I was absolutely heartbroken. This was a ring from the 1940s. My husband and I are both very connected with that time period. But it felt like something new, and it is something new. Things break away from us when we're being transported into a different timeline. And if you look at some of the things that happen to you that are uncomfortable or make you unhappy, just know that this is most likely a shift for you, especially when things start happening, irritating things. I call it mosquito time, because I always feel like there's just like, tick, 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 all of these little things that start going wrong that are no big deal, but they're really annoying. That to me is like, yeah, you are right there. You're being moved into this new timeline, into this new space that's going to put you either back on your path or move you forward into your path. So when the stuff starts hitting the fan, let it hit. Just go with it. Relax into it. Just be like, okay, I'm going through a change. And then that change will happen for you. It's funny, if you look back at all the major level ups in your life, you can look back and you can see and remember the little things that happened that brought you to that spot. So I hope that made sense to you. Sometimes it's hard to describe these things exactly, but if you're going through some stuff that's making you feel uncomfortable and things keep hitting one thing right after another, just sit back, relax, and let the shift happen for you. Please go check out my reading with John Davis on his channel, John of New. Incredible story that man has. Check out the interview that I had with him. That if you haven't seen it yet, please look at that. His story is absolutely fascinating. I really think that you can learn an awful lot from John, and he just will always hold a special place in my heart. He is a good man. So check out his channel, check out the interview, And please keep your comments coming. If you have any suggestions, anything that's happening in your life that you'd like me to talk about and try to figure out with you, please put it in the comments, and we'll do a video on it, and we'll see what we can come up with for you. Thank you all again so much. Please like and subscribe. And if you would like to have a reading, go to aristotle.com and set it up. Take care, everybody. Thank you.